I know, another bloody video about solid-state batteries and how they're nearly here, but still just not quite yet. Believe me, I share your frustration, I really do. And for those of you who don't know what I'm blathering on about, I'm talking about the fact that for the best part of a decade now, we've been hearing the same promises repeated over and over again. Electric vehicles with 1,000-mile ranges, 5-minute charging, dramatically lower fire risk, lighter battery packs, higher energy density, longer lifespan, potentially lower cost. And about every month or so, another press release appears claiming that the breakthrough has finally arrived. Toyota says progress is accelerating. QuantumScape announces another milestone. Samsung unveils a prototype. CATL hints at pilot production. BYD files new patents. And somewhere in the background, there's usually a headline suggesting that conventional lithium-ion batteries are about to become obsolete. But then, not so much seems to happen. And I think after so many years of headlines, a lot of people are starting to wonder whether solid-state batteries are actually real at all, or whether they've simply become a permanent feature of the clean tech hype cycle. Well, interestingly, I recently came across a new piece of research from the US Department of Energy's Oak Ridge National Laboratory that might help explain why solid-state technology has proven so difficult to commercialise, and why, despite all the delays, the industry may genuinely be entering a new phase. So I thought it was worth taking a step back to ask a broader question. After years of hype, where are solid-state batteries actually up to? Hello, and welcome to Just Have a Think. It's probably worth quickly reminding ourselves why solid-state batteries attracted so much excitement in the first place. Conventional lithium-ion batteries use a liquid electrolyte. That electrolyte allows lithium ions to move backwards and forwards between the electrodes during charging and discharging. The problem is that most liquid electrolytes are flammable, and although battery fires remain statistically rare, when they do happen, they can be extremely difficult to extinguish because the chemistry essentially sustains its own combustion process. But liquid electrolytes also impose design limitations. In particular, they make it very difficult to use pure lithium metal anodes safely because metallic lithium tends to form dendrites, those tiny needle-like structures that can grow through the separator and potentially short-circuit the cell. Solid-state batteries are attractive because, in theory at least, a solid electrolyte could dramatically reduce the fire risk while also enabling the use of lithium metal anodes with much higher energy densities. In simple terms, more energy storage in less space. And that's why automakers got so excited. If you could combine improved safety with lighter packs, faster charging and higher energy density, then suddenly electric vehicles become dramatically more competitive in sectors where batteries still struggle today, particularly long-range transport and aviation. But here's the important thing that often gets lost in media coverage. There is no such thing as the solid-state battery. It's not one technology, it's an entire family of competing approaches. Before we look at that though, it's that time again when I appeal to your better nature and ask if you could take a couple of seconds to click the free like and subscribe buttons just down here if you haven't already done so. Subscriber numbers really are the lifeblood of the channel, and they help me get my content noticed by the dreaded algorithm. So if you enjoy these videos and you want to see more of them, then clicking those buttons is the best way to keep up to date with my latest posts. So what are all these different types of solid-state chemistry then? Well, some companies are working on ceramic electrolytes, others are using sulfide materials, some are focusing on polymers, others are trying hybrid or semi-solid systems that still contain some liquid components, and each approach comes with its own trade-offs. Ceramic electrolytes can offer excellent ion conductivity, but they're brittle and difficult to manufacture consistently at scale. Sulfide electrolytes can conduct ions extremely well, but many are chemically sensitive and difficult to handle. Polymer electrolytes are flexible and potentially easier to manufacture, but ion transport tends to be slower. And unfortunately for battery researchers, ion transport speed turns out to be kind of important in batteries, which brings us to the new research from Oak Ridge National Laboratory. According to the ONRL researchers, one of the biggest challenges in polymer-based solid-state batteries is that ions generally move efficiently only when the polymer chains themselves are able to move. And that creates a difficult balancing act, because you want a solid electrolyte to be mechanically robust and stable, But the more rigid you make it, the harder it becomes for ions to move through it efficiently. The ORNL team explored a possible solution involving something called Zwitterions. They sound vaguely like something out of Star Wars, don't they? But the chemistry actually appears to be reasonably straightforward. Apparently, a Zwitterion is a molecule that contains both positive and negative electrical charges simultaneously, while remaining electrically neutral overall. And according to the ORNL researchers, incorporating these Zwitterions into the polymer structure appears to create self-organizing ion transport pathways. In other words, instead of lithium ions depending entirely on the movement of polymer chains themselves, the ions may be able to sort of hop through interconnected polar regions created by these Zwitterions. The really interesting part is that the researchers claim ion transport became dramatically decoupled from the motion of the polymer itself. The paper describes decoupling by up to 10 orders of magnitude under certain conditions. Now, to be clear, this is still early stage materials science research. This is not a commercial battery announcement. Nobody's about to launch an electric vehicle powered by Zwitterion electrolytes anytime soon. But what makes the paper interesting is that it highlights the sheer complexity of the challenge. Researchers are still actively trying to solve fundamental materials science problems involving ion conductivity, interfaces, mechanical stability, dendrite suppression, manufacturing tolerances, and thermal behaviour. And that's probably why timelines have slipped so often. But having said all of that, I do think something genuinely important has changed over the last few years, because the industry is slowly moving from theoretical prototypes into pilot-scale manufacturing. And that's a very different stage of development. Back in the late 2010s, solid-state battery discussions often sounded almost science-fictional. Today, though, major companies are operating pilot lines, producing sample cells, and beginning automotive qualification testing. That doesn't mean mass market adoption is imminent, but it does mean the technology is becoming industrialized. Chinese battery manufacturing giant CATL has just launched the third generation of its Chilin battery, for example. It's a semi-solid state battery based on nickel cobalt manganese chemistry, and according to CATL it can deliver a volumetric energy density of 600 watt-hours per litre and a gravimetric energy density of 280 watt-hours per kilogram. CATL reckons a 125 kilowatt-hour battery pack built with this chemistry weighs approximately 625 kilograms, which they say is 255 kilograms lighter than an equivalent lithium iron phosphate pack. And at their recent Tech Day, they also showcased what they call their condensed matter battery, which is a semi-solid state battery with 350 watt-hours per kilogram of gravimetric energy density and 760 watt-hours per litre of volumetric energy density. Those packs weigh less than 650 kilograms, apparently enabling executive sedans to achieve up to 1,500 kilometres of range and full-size SUVs up to 1,000 kilometres. That chemistry is already in service on electric vehicle takeoff and landing aircraft, or eVTOLs, and CATL are now targeting it firmly towards passenger vehicle applications as well. The other Chinese behemoth, BYD, is unsurprisingly also on the case. The company's chief scientist Lian Yubo shared an update recently suggesting their sulfide-based solid-state battery has reached a critical breakthrough stage. But he also explained that even though the technology works, making millions of solid-state batteries for a fair price is still a giant puzzle that needs solving. Taiwanese firm Prologium has been developing solid-state batteries since 2006. The company has investment and partnerships from major automotive and industrial players, including Mercedes-Benz. They've demonstrated very fast charging, high energy density battery architectures, and they've begun construction of a major gigafactory in Dunkirk, France, aimed at supplying Europe's EV market. US firm QuantumScape, backed by Volkswagen, is still ploughing on with its anodeless solid-state technology, despite all sorts of ups and downs over many years of development. In February 2026, the company launched the new Eagle production line at its facility in San Jose to produce battery cells to support customer sampling and testing, technology demonstrations, and product integration efforts. The new line's also intended to demonstrate scalable production of QuantumScape technology to enable licensing partners to manufacture at gigawatt-hour scale in their own facilities. And it'll serve as a platform to develop and test further technology and process improvements. What it won't do yet, though, is actually mass-produce solid-state batteries that can be bolted to an electric vehicle. So, still waiting on that one. Solid Power is another well-publicised manufacturer. They're working closely with BMW and Ford to develop a solid sulfide electrolyte battery that they claim will have a gravimetric energy density of 390 watt-hours per kilogram and a volumetric energy density of 930 watt-hours per litre. But again, the company is only now transitioning from laboratory-scale development into pilot-scale production, and it appears to be positioning itself primarily as an electrolyte supplier and technology licenser rather than a mass battery manufacturer itself. A recent blog from BMW suggested we won't see these batteries in mass-produced vehicles until 2030. There are plenty of other hopefuls that I haven't mentioned today as well, but it's probably worth reminding ourselves that the existing lithium-ion ecosystem represents trillions of dollars of manufacturing infrastructure. The industry isn't going to abandon all of that overnight unless the replacement technology is overwhelmingly superior economically. And of course, a technology can be scientifically brilliant and still fail commercially. So solid-state batteries won't just need to work, they'll need to work reliably, repeatedly, affordably, and at extraordinary manufacturing scale. And as we've seen so many times on this channel, that last part is brutal. It's one thing producing a high-performance laboratory cell, it's another thing completely to produce tens of millions of cells with microscopic manufacturing tolerances at competitive cost. Solid-state batteries are definitely no longer science fiction, but we may be entering a long transitional phase where increasingly advanced hybrid and semi-solid designs slowly push battery performance forward while researchers continue working on the deeper materials challenges required for fully solid-state systems. But that's okay, because even incremental improvements in battery energy density and charging speed and safety can have massive real-world impacts, particularly in sectors where current batteries remain marginal, like heavy freight, marine transport, and even the aviation industry. And perhaps most important of all, these developments are happening alongside rapid progress in other battery chemistries as well. LFP batteries continue improving, sodium-ion batteries are emerging, manufacturing costs keep falling, charging infrastructure keeps expanding, so the future of electrification doesn't depend entirely on solid-state batteries arriving next Tuesday. The transition is already happening. Solid-state technology, if and when it does come online in a commercially mass-produced way, will just accelerate the process. And maybe that's the real takeaway, that technological revolutions rarely arrive as one dramatic breakthrough. They typically emerge gradually and unevenly through thousands of engineering improvements quietly compounding over time. That doesn't make for particularly exciting clickbait headlines, does it? But it's probably much closer to reality. No doubt you've got your own news and views on solid-state batteries, so as always, the place to leave your thoughts is in the comment section below. That's it for this week though. A huge thank you, as always, to the amazing folks who support the channel on a monthly basis via Patreon and who help me keep ads and sponsorship messages out of all my videos. If you'd like the chance to leave feedback on preview versions of each video, take part in monthly content polls to choose future videos, and chat directly with me and other like-minded souls, then you can do just that by visiting patreon.com/justhavathink. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this video useful, and most importantly of all, thanks very much for watching. Have a great week, and remember to just have a think. See you next week.